Listen, 3 busted characters that I think everyone should build, alright? If we're looking at Tower Adversity, which is the hardest content in the game, it's essentially the end game. I'm not counting holograms because they're not going anywhere. You can complete them 3 years from now if you want to. But Tower of Adversity is time gated. So if you want max rewards, then building these 3 characters will help a ton. Okay, firstly, Sanhua. She's pretty much the best basic attack buffer in the game. I think she's the only one. And if you look at some of the top on-fielders in the game, like Encore, Ling Yang, and Havoc Rover, they all do basic attacks, which Sanhua will buff a ton, making them much better. On top of that, she has very little field time. She has pretty good personal damage because she doesn't actually really need like that much ER. So you can go full damage, double glacio damage percent on her echoes, and it'll make overall team damage pretty good. She's also given for free if you did the 7-day login event, which I'm sure everyone did. And then she can also run the 5-piece Moonlit set and the Impermanence Heron, both of which provide a good buff for the next character that goes on field, which would be your DPS. And then looking at her sequence nodes, her S6 has a team-wide 20% attack buff, and then S1 to S5 buffs her personal damage, which can help her if you want to play her on field, which she can do. She has a lot of self-buffing mechanics in her kit. For instance, she has some buffs that are applied when she does her 5th basic attack. So if you like her playstyle enough, you can play her on field and she'll do pretty good damage. She's pretty versatile. We're not going to be getting any new busted support characters until we see the kits in 1.1. Of course, Yin Lin is coming, but her main focus is really lightning DPSs like Calcharo. And considering you need 3 different team comps for Tower of Adversity, Sanhua does have a lot of value. Alright, next, Havoc Rover. So Havoc Rover is actually amazing with Sanhua. On top of already having strong damage, pairing them with Sanhua makes like one of the strongest comps in the game. They do also have free resonance chains that you get from the story and from exploration. S2 making her pretty good, allowing her to have some unique playstyles. She does have long field time, but that's not a problem if you're playing her with Sanhua or any other support / sub DPS that doesn't have a lot of field time. They are of course completely free, but there's also some added unique benefits with Havoc Rover. One of them being which you can completely swap gear with Danjin. So both Havoc Rover and Danjin share the exact same echo set and weapon. So when you're doing Tower Adversity, you can use all the vigor of Danjin or Havoc Rover and then just put all that gear onto the other one and have a new character with full vigor. Or instead, you can use Havoc Rover and Danjin together, which is a pretty good comp, pretty strong. Danjin provides a Havoc damage bonus to Havoc Rover. The only issue with this is you have to farm 2 completely different sets for both these characters. Overall, Havoc Rover isn't as versatile as Sanhua, but considering there aren't many DPSs in the game currently, for example, GN, Calcharo, and Encore are the 3 top DPSs, and if you don't have all of them, then Havoc Rover will be the next strongest DPS. The rest just don't perform as well as she does. Okay, and lastly, Mortefi. So Mortefi's main mechanic is his insanely strong heavy attack buff. So of course, the strongest heavy attack in the game, and also I think the strongest DPS right now, is GN. Mortefi is his best teammate right now, and will be until 1.1, until we see the new characters kits. But on top of his strong heavy attack buff, he has very little field time, and his Resonance Liberation has a pretty good coordinated attack mechanic. It does pretty decent damage on top of your on-fielders. Again, perfect for GN or Danjin, honestly. Any character who does heavy attacks will get the most value from Mortefi. And just like Sanhua, he can run the Moonlit Cloud set and use the Impermanence Heron, which buffs the next character even more. He can also hold the Static Mist Pistol, which increases the attack of the next character by 10%. Of course, this is a 5-star weapon, but it is a pretty good support weapon for any sub DPS. But what makes Mortefi very strong is his sequence nodes. So of course he is on the GN banner, so some people will have a couple of his sequence nodes. So his S1 allows him to launch coordinated attacks when the on-field character is using their skills. So this pretty much allows Calcharo to be one of his best on-fielders when he has S1. Considering Calcharo has 3 resonance skills, you can stack a ton of coordinated attacks. And then the rest of his sequence nodes just makes him a little bit stronger, adding little buffs, like he can restore energy energy, he can get more crit damage. How long his Resonance Liberation coordinated attacks last gets increases. And then at S6, he also has a team-wide attack percent buff similar to Sanhua. Pretty much the reason why these three characters have a ton of value for everyone's accounts is because, again, focusing on Tower of Adversity, the time-gated content, there aren't many sub-DPS options to choose from, and we aren't going to be getting any new broken DPSs. So if you skipped GN, or you got unlucky and didn't get Encore or Caltraro, then you don't have many options for a DPS that could just carry you as much as you can. You sort of need to invest into your sub-DPSs pretty well. And until the 26th, when 1.1 will drop, these characters will have a niche for a pretty long time. Like, they're not going to be replaced anytime soon. Sanhua will always be a pretty good basic attack buffer, which again is a lot of DPSs. Mortefi will be a good heavy attack buffer on top of all the other buffs, and Havoc Rover is a good DPS option. Considering the next banner will be Yin Lin, we're pretty much stuck with the same characters until 1.1, which means the Tower of Adversity will reset twice. It'll most likely reset with the new 1.1 version drop, so these characters will have a ton of value for a very long time, so build them.